Yo, what's good, people? What's good? I'm coming back with another review, yeah? I thought I got a little bit of time to spare. You know what? I tend to do these reviews when I've been listening to new music. I've taken a little break off of my reaction channel, so as far as new music is concerned, I only really listen to it now unless it's recorded because time's limited and I like to share the experience with other people. Why the hell not, eh? So I had a revisit. Or at least, I say a revisit, I was just listening to music I already know, let's be fair. Listen to a particular band, you might be aware of, if you're into metal, if you're into hardcore, band called Power Trip, yeah? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk on the band, not by album, but the band as a whole, my experience with them, what I think of them, and so forth, right? I thought this is an interesting band to do. Now, Power Trip have not reinvented the wheel. It is thrash metal for thrash metal's sake. Now, is it crossover? Earlier, maybe a little more so. Few more crossover elements. When the LP came out, Manifest Destination, is that the one? And then the second record came out, which I'm unaware of the title of it. Nightmare Logic might be the second record. Or at least the second full length. It seemed to be thrash metal, but of course we have the mid-tempo chugs, the breakdowns, not in a, hate mosh breakdown sense, but in a, breaking down of the tune so we can get a bit of a side-to-side, get some stagey Ds and so forth, dependent on what the crowd is, let's be real, because as they blew up, they started to play metal festivals, they started to play metal tours, and the foundation of that hardcore punk community sort of became a small pocket as to which they could really perform in. And yeah, where do I start? So first and foremost, I'm a really big fan of this band, okay? So by default, this is going to be a relatively positive review. I don't think they've done anything different. They are a thrash metal band, and they're very basic in the sense that we just got E-Chug. E-Chug, drummer does what they have to do. No eccentricity with the band. Nothing out of the norm. Nothing, outside of what you would expect from a thrash band. The guitar solos are okay. The lead guitar isn't what you can find in thrash metal. There's some incredible musicians by default within the genre. Vocals, I would like to think it would be, that there's some people who might not like the vocal as much, who might like a little more of the heavy metal, less, more organic, less harsh vocal atop, But as I said, we're not reinventing the wheel. Relatively basic as far as the vocal is concerned. And I do know that he's passed now, which is a shame. I don't know the dude personally, so I'm not going to speak on that. But as far as the band is concerned, it is a shame because they, were larger than life. They had, from what I was aware, they had not even peaked at this point. And this is one thing I've brought up to my friends, right? Which I'll elaborate on potentially in due time. I believe this band would have been up there, or maybe still could be, but 2 LPs isn't really a legacy of work. I reckon this band would have been up there with the Slayers, with the Creators, with the Testaments. I mean, maybe not Metallica, come on, but, well, to be honest, maybe not even Slayer, but you know what I mean, a top tier, top 1% metal band, let alone thrash metal. Because, as I was speaking of, with them not reinventing the wheel, what I will now flip is say, the basics and what they were doing was pristine, spectacular. They would E-Chug on that guitar, and when I say E-Chug, that's what I refer to as, that style of riffing. Just chugging away. Nothing spectacular, nothing virtuoso. Just tight, plugging away. What they did with them basics, I have never heard anybody in any band do as well. And I've got to give a rate to the sound engineer and the production of these records to emphasize and concentrate on that element of the band. There's no fluff. I mean, when they put out that first record, which now when I listen to it, I don't even pick up on it whatsoever because I'm so used to it. But they threw that excess reverb onto the music, and especially the vocals. And at first I was a little bit, iffy about it. But now when I listen to it, I think it's absolutely spot on. That's probably the most controversial element to the band's sound, when they threw the extra reverb onto the vocal line. That was it, for the most part. But the riffs are fantastic. The energy is above and beyond, right? So, I like to train, I like to get to the gym, yeah? This band has it all for the gym. So, you'll be lifting heavy weights, you'll be waiting for that breakdown. Come on, bah, bah, bah. If you go on a treadmill, you like your cardio activity. If you go rowing, you like your rowing, you like your cardio. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Energy, 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 energy. It never slows down. And that's surprising, because as far as basics are concerned, they did bypass the whole acousticy, clean bridge elements that the classic bands had. Introduction wise, you might have a bit of a dragged feedback and like a sample here and there. At least I'm thinking of the revisit to Hammer of Doubt, is it? That they re-recorded. But they might as well have done something special and different, considering it was a revisit to an old track they did. But absolutely spectacular. Energy from start to finish, and you've got plenty of it. So as far as people into alternate music, if they ask, what's good music to train to, I would put this band first and foremost. Because, with hardcore records and metal records and that, first and foremost, metal records can be a bit hit or miss. You might find that one track that's good for training. You might find half of the record's good for training, and then you have this off experimental track and so forth. Power Trip from start to finish, just keep it consistent. And I like that. I like that a lot. I like that beyond words. Because me and my interests, it fulfills that to a T. So, I like metal music. If you want to get in the push party and mosh out and headbang and so forth, there we go, we're laughing. If you like hardcore dancing, and I bloody love moshing, yeah? I love hardcore dancing. I love walking on people's heads. I like smacking people behind me, pretending like they're not even there and just fucking giving it a wallop. I like fucking flying into the crowd, into the side. This band's pristine, spectacular for that as well. So you can play it safe, or you can just annoy everyone and start pit beef to this band. Spot on. Fantastic. And that's it. The only downside, I would say, is a couple of numbers off of the earlier recordings weren't that good. And in particular, I'm speaking of a record where it's like they've tried to do a hardcore tune. It's called Brainwaves or something, which is something alike, as well as constructed, I think, like that TUI song that they had on the demo, which was called something along the likes of that. So I don't know if they found influence from TUI in that initial early work, but it didn't work for them, and they moved on from that ASAP. I first heard of the band on the EP. Was the record called Armageddon Blues? I think it was a free track. I heard the band then. I started to watch live footage of them playing in like California and stuff. You had the moshers, they were playing small venues. It was kicking off, it was fun, it was lively. And then before you know it, you know what I mean, it kicked off. They became these Goliaths. And of course with hardcore music, hardcore punk music, crossover hardcore, there's a ceiling. And if you're a fantastic, great band, you're going to hit that ceiling fast, and you're going to have to move off elsewhere, whether it be in an indie market, which is what Turnstile has done, whether it be in metal, which is forever, you know. So that's really brilliant. I really like the band. I'm going to give the band's catalogue, the band's discography, a 10 out of 10. You know, 10 out of 10 would mean perfect, so I'm going to disallow what I referenced in regards to some of the earlier works where it was just them finding their feet. But from the 3-track Armageddon Blues onwards to the first LP, onwards to the second LP, I don't know if they did a third. Am I right in saying that? I just think it was incredible metal music. It's the best metal music I've heard. I think well, it's not the best I've heard, but it is there. I can't fault it for thrash metal. A lot of thrash metal's boring. A lot of thrash metal is great, but the production doesn't do it justice. With this catalogue, in my opinion, it is perfect, pristine, and it's such a shame that potentially we're not going to hear another record from them, because where they would have gone from there, I would have been interested to hear. I don't know whether they would have continued down the same route and just kept it the way it is, like Hatebreed's done. They've got the formula, just stick to it and just sell it the hell out. Or whether they would have wanted to mature into a different position, which I might be saying something else, you know what I mean? But where it stopped for me is absolutely fantastic. So that's all I've got to say. And without further ado,